The danger to the U.S. power grid is real. Justice has been telling you for over a year about our vulnerability and the dire consequences if the grid were to go down. But don't just take my word for it. Here's Admiral Mike Rogers, the head of the NSA, describing how Russia, China, and other nations can shut down the United States.
The cyber challenges we're talking about are not theoretical. This is something real. There are nation states and groups out there that have the capability to do that, to enter our systems, to enter those industrial control systems, and to shut down, forestall our ability to operate our basic infrastructure. There is more than one nation set out there that we watch that we believe has these capabilities.
So will the administration listen now? With me, Arizona Congressman Trent Franks, who's been a leading voice on this issue for years. Good evening, Congressman. Your reaction to this blunt warning that enemy nations can shut down the systems that we Americans rely on?
Well, first of all, I'm just grateful to Admiral Rogers for having the courage and the acumen to state this as he has. It is every syllable he spoke is accurate, and we're fortunate to have men like that out there protecting all of us. And I also want to just thank you for your commitment to this issue, because it appears because of you and people like Pete Sessions and others that we're now going to see some movement on the Critical Infrastructure Protection Act. And I'm extremely encouraged about that. Well,
you know, let's hope that there is movement. And of course, I've complained a great deal about the fact that there are some people who won't even let these bills out of committee. And the inherent danger to Americans. You've got the idea of an electromagnetic pulse. You've got solar flares, which are a big one, guaranteed. And now we've got these other rogue nations, well, not even rogue nations. You've got China and Russia. They've strengthened their grid. Our grid is not protected, and they can, you know, they've inserted allegedly malware in ours. So will we know if there is any kind of effort of a cyber attack by another nation? And could we stop it? Are we in a position to do that?
Well, it's a serious situation. In some cases, we do know when they do that. These attacks are ongoing, and certainly we're very vulnerable to it. And the truth is, Judge, that EMP and cyber security issues are sort of kissing cousins. Any system that cyber can thwart or corrupts, potentially EMP can take the system down entirely. Mm-hmm. And we have to be alert at all times. The bill that we have in Congress would task the Department of Homeland Security to make sure that these are insinuated into our national planning scenarios, and that we do the additional research necessary to protect our major grid components. And then it tasks them, most importantly, with a plan to protect our major grid components. And I think it's very ironic that on Monday we have a deadline, negotiations with Iran potentially becoming a nuclear-capable nation at some point. If they do, how will we feel then? Will we then react to this? And so I think that there's ample reason for all of us to act now, and we're beginning to do that, and I'm encouraged.
Well, you know, and there's talk that it would be $2 billion to strengthen our grid. Is that a lot of money from your perspective in Congress?
Well, that would be over 4 or 5 years, and that could, if you broke that down into what it would cost the ratepayers, I think it maybe is 25 cents a year per ratepayer. So the cost is, and this is, of course, is just to ameliorate the worst case scenario. Mm-hmm. But I am frustrated sometimes at groups like NERC that have slow-walked these kinds of protections through the FERC process. It's also encouraging to me to see great industry giants like Terry Boston of PJM that has stood up and looked at this issue for what it is, and I want to thank him tonight for his courage. He's responsible to keep electricity coming to about 60 million people in America. Well, and we're very fortunate that people like that are finally coming to the front.
And we're fortunate, Congressman, that there are people who recognize the inherent danger here. And the unfortunate part is NERC, which is the North American, what is it, Electronic Regulatory Commission.
North American
whatever the Reliability Corporation
North American Electric Reliability Corporation.
Right, has not done what you guys think it should be doing. If anyone wants this bill to move, what should they do? Who should they contact?
Well, right now it's just the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, Mike McCall, again a very courageous hero in my judgment, is going to see the bill come to the floor. We hope that leadership will provide the time for it. I think they will. And we then, of course, will look to the Senate probably early next year to look at it. We have a new chairman coming in that is going to be, I think, very, very amenable to the bill, new chairman of the Homeland Security Committee in the Senate. All
right, Congressman Franks, thanks so much for being with us.
And thank you, Judge. You were there when we really needed you.
Thank you. And with me now, President of the Center for Security Policy, Frank Gaffney. All right, good evening, Frank. I can't count the number of times that you and I have warned the nation about the danger facing the power grid, and nothing has been done. Do you think anything will happen as a result of Rogers' statements that you've got China, Russia, a few others, and I even read, Frank, that there are cyber hitmen who can be hired to actually attack our grid?
Well, I want to echo what Congressman Franks said, Judge. If this does, in fact, get done, I think it will be in no small measure thanks to the efforts you've been making on this program to highlight it and make sure that the American people are aware of it before Mike Rogers stepped up. And by the way, this is only the latest warning. We've had at least 11 others. If people are interested in seeing the executive summaries of those, go to securethegrid.com. The warnings are consistent. Whether it's threats of this kind, cyber attack against the grid, whether by hacking gangs, if you will, or by states or state-sponsored hacking gangs, any number of opportunities there, or whether it's physical attacks, or whether it's, as Congressman Franks mentioned earlier, the electromagnetic pulse attacks. You know, if the power is taken down by electromagnetic pulse, it's not going to matter, frankly, whether we've got the best cyber protection in the grid or not. It will be down. But the point is that what we're hearing from Mike Rogers, I think, Admiral Rogers is indeed courageously pushing this out, is an appeal for help. And you and Congressman Franks talked about what's been going on with the regulators. Here's something you need to know. The backstory, Judge, is in 2005, the Congress said to this Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, you need to protect the communication systems that are the backbone of the grid, really. And they've been trying. There have been 5 different efforts. And just this month, on November 13th, this North American Electric Reliability Corporation defied a direct order from the FERC to get this problem addressed with a serious and adequate standard. And this is really intolerable.
Frank, my viewers are wondering now why. We rely on the government to take care of us. Why would they not?
Well, again, the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, or NERC, isn't the government. It's a trade association for all intents and purposes. It represents the industry. The industry has not wanted to fix these things. I'm very heartened by what the congressman said about Terry Boston. He is a leader in that industry, and he may make it possible for the rest of them to do what's needed here. But, Judge, what's been a travesty to this point, and I don't think that's an exaggeration, a travesty that is putting millions of our lives at risk, and our society, our country at risk, is the industry's refusal to take the sorts of steps in the cyber domain, in the physical threats domain, in the protection against serious solar storms. And they're coming, for sure.
Shame on them.
This needs to be fixed, and thank you for your help in getting them to do it.
All right, Frank, and thank you. While we spend money on protecting on allowing the illegals and the enormous impact that's going to have on our economy, and yet we are so selfish with protecting our grid. Anyway, thank you, Frank.
Another travesty.
Thank you for being with us this evening.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And coming up, the latest from Ferguson as we await the grand jury's decision.